Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Fareha Saleem, and today I will teach you about the physiology of sight. Basically, light waves travel at a speed of approximately 300,000 kilometers per second. The light is reflected into the eyes by object within the field of vision. Basically, light is a combination of different colors. We have already studied in science that it is a combination of 7 colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And this is demonstrated when we pass a light beam through a glass prism. And if you can recall the practical which you have done in your initial classes, that when the light passes through that prism, it basically breaks down into 7 colors, like the colors of rainbow. And among these colors, which we can see through our naked eye, the red light has longest wavelength and the shortest wavelength is that of violet. So, um, in this part, you can see that this is the spectrum of light which is visible to our naked eye. And in this, the longest wavelength is that of red. Okay, then it is of orange, yellow, green, blue, and then violet. Okay, and then the wavelength which is more than that of red is of infrared rays. Infrared rays have wavelength more than red color. Then comes microwaves, and the longest wavelength is that of radio waves. All right, these are the radio waves. These have longest wavelength, that is 10 raised to power 8. Okay, so if we go back towards this way, this is decrease in wavelength. After violet, there is ultraviolet rays, then there are X-rays, and then there are gamma rays. Gamma rays have the shortest wavelength. Do remember this for your MCQ point of view. Radio waves have highest wavelength, gamma rays have shortest wavelength. But if the MCQ or question is that which color has the shortest wavelength seen through naked eye or seen through human eye, then the answer is violet has shortest wavelength and red has highest wavelength. So do remember, these are the facts. Okay, so uh, the range of color which we can see is the spectrum of visible light. In a rainbow, the white light from the sun is broken up by the raindrops, which we see as rainbow. All right. Okay. The electromagnetic spectrum, this is broad, but only a small part is visible to our human eye. Okay, we have already discussed about the infrared rays, microwaves, the radio waves, and the UV rays. UV light is not normally visible because it is absorbed by a yellow pigment in the lens, and if it is removed, for example in cataract extraction, UV light is visible to the patient, but long time exposure may cause retinal damage. A specific color, when perceived, is perceived only when one wavelength is reflected by the object and all the other colors are absorbed. For example, if you are seeing a red cushion or a red table, that is because all the colors, all the 6 colors are absorbed by that table and only red color or red light is reflected. So basically, whatever color you are seeing is the color which is being reflected. Rest of the 6 colors are getting absorbed. For example, if you are visualizing a blue pen, that is because all the colors are getting absorbed in that pen and except blue color which is being reflected. But if you are seeing a white object, let's say that if you are visualizing a white object, it means that all the wavelengths are being reflected. While in case of black color, all the lights or all the colors are getting absorbed and you are seeing no color. That is why it appears black, because no color is being reflected. Okay. So Now we will talk about the refraction of light rays. When the light rays pass from a medium of one density to a medium of another different density, then they bend. For example, in our eye, when the light enters our eye, it passes through the lens, and because the lens has different density as compared to the air medium, the light bends. Okay, this principle is used to focus light on the retina. But before reaching the retina, light passes through the conjunctiva, aqueous fluid, cornea, vitreous body, and these are all denser than air. Okay, but they have same refractory power as compared to water. So light does not bend when it passes through conjunctiva, aqueous fluid, vitreous body, but it does bend when it passes through the lens. Okay, so now how the image is being focused on the retina. Okay, the light has entered the eye, it has passed through the lens. Now how the image is formed on the retina: the light rays are reflected from an object, they are bent by the lens, and when they enter the eye in the same way as it is shown in this diagram, you can see that we will study about how our eyes work. First of all, light enters the eye. Okay, then your iris dilates. This is the iris part, this one, which is in some people you have seen the colored iris. It could be green, it could be light bluish or brownish. Normally Asians have brownish to dark brownish tinge, and this black part is the pupil. Okay, so our iris dilates, changing the size of the pupil. So the size of pupil is determined by the dilation or contraction of iris. Okay, so when the iris dilates, the size of pupil is changed. The size depends on how much light your pupil needs to let in. Okay, then your lens send the light to the back of your eye, but the image is flipped upside down. You can see that the image was upright, but when the light passes from this point, it goes towards this area, and when the light is passing from this point, it is getting towards this area. So the image is upside down on your retina. But do remember that when the retina sends this signal to the brain makes it upside down again, so we perceive the image the right way. Okay, okay, light entering the eye needs to be refracted to focus on the retina. Light from the far objects need less refraction. An object comes closer to the eye, human eye, is more refracted. Okay, to focus the light rays from the near objects on the retina. Okay, so if we are focusing an object which is near to our eye, what would happen to our different anatomically? What would happen in our eyeball? The ciliary muscle would contract, the ciliary body would move forward towards the lens, the suspensory ligaments would relax, and the lens become more convex, and the light focuses on the retina. So these all, you can say, a group of things happen when we are viewing an object from near or less distance. Okay, so let's move towards, if you are viewing an object from distance, like the eye accommodated for distance vision. If we are viewing something from a far distance, what would happen? The ciliary muscle is relaxed. Okay, this is the ciliary muscle, this is relaxed. The suspensory ligaments are taut, or you can say they are in tension, and the lens is flattened. Okay, you can see that the lens is flattened in this part. But if we are our eyes need to be accommodated for near vision, then the ciliary muscles, they would be contracted, suspensory ligaments would relax or they would slack off, and the lens would become bulgy, or they would become convex in shape, more convex in shape, you can say. You can also observe the suspensory ligaments over here. this part and this part. Here they are in tension, and over this part they are relaxed or they are slacking off. So do remember these points, that when we are viewing distance vision, then the ciliary muscles are relaxed, suspensory ligaments are tensed, and the lens is flat. While in case of near vision, ciliary muscles are contracted, suspensory ligaments are relaxed or they slack off, and the lens is more convex. Okay, so now we will come to the size of pupil. Pupil basically controls the amount of light entering the eye. I have told you that it is like the black dot or the black circle in your eye is the pupil, and it is controlling the amount of light entering your eye. In a bright light, the pupil are constricted, so retina is not damaged by a lot of light. And in dim light, they are dilated, so enough light can enter to form the proper image. If the pupil are dilated in a bright light, too much light would enter the eye and damage the sensitive retina. In dim light, if the pupil were constricted, insufficient light would enter the eye to activate the light sensitive pigments in the rods and cones, which basically stimulate the nerve endings in retina. So iris, or you can see that this part, this red portion, this all part, this consists of two types of smooth muscle fibers. Okay, first are this iris part, except for this black part, this whole iris consists of circular fibers and radiating fibers. Okay, one of them is, these are the circular fibers. Okay, let's change the color of the pen so you can understand better. These are the circular fibers and these are the radiating fibers. Okay, I hope you can understand now better. So iris consists of two types of muscle fibers, circular and radiating fibers. Contraction of these circular fibers causes the constriction of pupil, which you can understand, and contraction of the radiating fibers, when they contract, it causes the dilation of the pupil, as in this case. Okay, so pupil size is controlled by autonomic nervous system. Okay, and sympathetic stimulation dilates the pupil and parasympathetic stimulation causes constriction of the pupil. I hope this is clear now, and you can see that in bright light how the radiating fibers, they are relaxed. In normal light they are normally present in their normal state, while in dim light, as in this case, in dim light we need dilated pupil so more light can enter into the pupil and reach our retina to form a clear image. So the radiating muscles, they are contracted to give more space to the pupil. Okay, accommodation. As the name indicates, it means accommodation of the eye, or the mechanism by which eye changes its refractive power by altering the shape of the lens to focus the near objects. So changes in the eye, what happens to focus on the near objects, that is the object which is within the 6 meters of eye. Following changes are required. First is constriction of the pupil, second is convergence, and third is changing the power of the lens, or which means that the lens become more globular and rounder and the refractory power increases. So do remember that constriction of the pupil. Now we will discuss these 3 points one by one. Firstly is the constriction of pupil. It basically assists the accommodation by reducing the width of the beam of light which is entering the eye, so that it passes through the central curve part of the lens. Okay, now what does convergence means? In this, extrinsic muscles move the eye and obtain a clear image, so they rotate the eyes to converge the object properly viewed. Okay, so basically what is happening is that these are different you can say coordinated movements or coordinated muscle activity which is under the autonomic control. Okay, the nearer an object is to the eye, the greater the eye rotation needed to achieve convergence. For example, an individual focusing near the tip of his nose appeared to be cross-eyed. Okay. Thirdly, we have changing the power of the lens. Changes in the thickness of the lens are made to focus light on the retina. The amount of adjustment depends on the distance of the object from the eye. That is, the lens is thicker for near vision and at its thickest when focusing on the object at more than 6 meter distance. Looking at near objects tires the eyes more. That is, your eyes become more tired when you are looking at near vision because of continuous use of ciliary muscle. The lens loses its elasticity and stiffens with age, and this is called as presbyopia, which we will discuss later on. So, uh, the basically the signals which are taken from our eyes to the brain include the efferent signals, which are through the oculomotor nerve, and the muscles included are medial rectus, ciliary muscles, and circular muscles. While the signals which are taken from the brain towards our back towards the eye are, or the image which is formed are through the optic tract or visual tract, which includes nerve fibers, optic chiasma, optic tract, lateral geniculate body, optic radiation, and optic area. This is the visual pathway, and this question often comes that what is the visual pathway of what describe the visual pathway. So you have to write that the signals first go to optic nerve, then optic chiasma, then optic tract, lateral geniculate body, optic radiation, and optic area. Okay, normal vision. What is normal vision? In a normal eye, the image is formed on the retina. In case of myopia, the image is formed in front of the retina. It may be due to larger eyeball. Far objects cannot be seen clearly, while near objects can be seen, thus it is called as near or short-sightedness. Correction is concave lens. In hypermetropia, image is formed behind the retina. It may be due to smaller eyeball. Near objects cannot be clearly seen, while far objects can be seen, thus it is called as far-sightedness, because you can see far objects more clearly. Convex lens is the corrective lens of this condition. So there is presbyopia, which I've just discussed. It is the loss of accommodation due to old age. Lens loses its elasticity and becomes firm. This causes poor focusing of light on the retina and blurred vision. The correction is convex lens. So what are the functions of retina? As you remember that So the functions of retina are that retina is a light sensitive part of eye and it has two different photoreceptors, rods and cones. Light rays cause chemical changes in the light sensitive pigments in the receptors and they generate nerve impulses which are conducted to the occipital lobe of cerebrum where the image is formed. Rods are more sensitive to light than cones and they are associated with black and white vision. Rods are 16 times more in quantity than cones in the retina. Rods are more present on the periphery of the retina. Rod is basically associated with dark vision, okay, and cones are associated with color vision. Rods contain pigments called rhodopsin. Cones are sensitive to bright light and color because I just told you that they are linked to the color vision. Cones are maximum in number in fovea, in macula lutea, if you can recall the anatomy of eye. Color blindness is a common condition that affects more men than women, okay, because it is a sex-linked recessive gene and it is more common in men. Colorblind individuals cannot differentiate between colors because red, green or blue cones are abnormal. Most common type of color vision is red-green color blindness. So this is all for today. I hope you have understood the lecture.